Equality, freedom, and rights in Latin America. The concept and the indicators are identified from Latin Barometer 2007. The articles we refer to include the Latin Barometer 2007 Summary Report, Fulwicker and Krzarek, The Uneven Performance of Third Wave Democracies, and Carl, Dilemmas of Democratization in Latin America.
All 18 countries are classified under Huntington's third wave of democratization. In Fulwicker's and Krznarek's piece on third wave democracies, they provide a definition of democracy, where democracy is founded on the principles of liberty and equality upheld by the rule of law and sovereignty of the people. In these countries, electoral democratic principles such as free and fair elections overshadow social aspects of a liberal democracy, including freedom of speech, freedom of religion, and social security. We are interested in measuring the possible reasons as to why these freedoms, rights, and equalities are not prominent in Latin American democracies.
11 variables concerning rights, freedoms, and equalities were measured in the index of the dependent variable. The alpha and the standardized alpha are 0.84. Guarantee of freedom by satisfaction of democracy. Since democracy is based upon the principles of liberty and equality upheld by the rule of law and sovereignty of the people, these freedoms, equalities, and rights are essential to properly functioning liberal democracy and will therefore be apparent for those who express a high degree of satisfaction in their respective democratic countries. Guarantee of freedom by conflict between rich and poor. The freedoms, rights, and equalities are meant to decrease the gap between the rich and the poor. Therefore, as the participants' opinion on implementation of these freedoms increases, their opinion on the division of the rich and the poor decreases. The laws and policies enacted concern social security and the welfare of the people, which are made for the purpose of distributing wealth more evenly across the socio-economic classes. Guarantee of freedom by government institutions. 8 separate government institutions were compared in a reliability analysis and produced an alpha score and a standardized alpha of 0.85. The government institutions are all meant to uphold and protect the freedoms, rights, equality of the citizens of this region. The more citizens are satisfied with the operations of these various institutions increase, the more the citizens will feel like their rights and freedoms are guaranteed. Thus, there will be a positive relationship between the two variables.
Patterns. Guarantee of freedom by satisfaction with democracy. A tau B of 0.29 suggests that our initial hypothesis was correct. As the public satisfaction of democracy increases, the guarantee of freedoms, rights, and equalities increase as well. There are clear bulges of this strong relationship along the diagonal from the top left cell to the bottom right cell. Guarantee of freedom by conflict between rich and poor. The hypothesized result of the positive relationship between the guarantee of rights and freedoms and a lack of conflict between the rich and poor is incorrect. The tau B of negative 0.06 shows there is an extremely weak relationship between the two variables. The results are distributed very evenly across levels of agreement to the lack of conflict, but a diagonal of bulges from the top right to the bottom left cells can still be identified in the cross-tabulation. This conclusion coincides with the information stated in the literature by T.L. Carl. Although a certain level of freedoms, rights, and equalities are guaranteed for all Latin American citizens, the state continues to be controlled by the rich while the poor do not exercise their rights in contestation to the current policies. Guarantee of freedom by government institutions. The tau B of 0.35 indicates that as the level of confidence in government institutions increases, the guarantee of rights and freedoms also increases, which indicates there is a very strong positive relationship between the independent and dependent variable. Again, the cross-tabulation indicates a diagonal from the top left to bottom right cell.
ANOVA and Sheffey test. The F probability and the chi-square suggest that each respective case is not simply due to sampling error or type 1 error. The first and second IVs illustrate that four categories are statistically significant through the Sheffey test. For the second independent variable, the Sheffey test shows that the percentage scores for strongly agree and disagree are very similar. Thus, the participants' opinion on the extent that freedoms are implemented in their respective countries does not change significantly when they either strongly disagree, that there is no conflict between the rich and the poor. Furthermore, this may indicate that disagree and strongly disagree could be recoded into a single collapsed category without making an overgeneralization.
Conclusions. The F probabilities of the ANOVA and chi-squares of all three relationships infer that the relationships are significant and also may be generalized to the population of the region. Approximately half of the surveyed population does not believe their rights and freedoms are guaranteed. This coincides with the argument stated by Foraker and Krznaric, where the dissatisfaction towards democracy is attributed to the lack of individual rights and freedoms of the people in the region. Furthermore, the institutions which are supposed to uphold the rule of law and protection of these rights and freedoms are overshadowed by the electoral aspect of democracy. Further research. Is there a relationship between the guarantee of rights and freedoms and other conflicting groups such as gender, race, or employment status? How does the free market economy affect the rights and freedoms of Latin American individuals, given that both are vital aspects of a liberal democracy? How have Western liberal democracies such as the United Kingdom, United States, and Canada influenced democratization in Latin America, since the freedoms, rights, and equalities examined in the index are entrenched in the political culture of these states?